Chelsea lost in the final of the Carabao Cup on Sunday as Maurizio Sarri's best hope of silverware slipped through his fingers. Since replacing Antonio Conte as Chelsea manager in July, Sarri has alienated fans whilst failing to implement a system that produces consistent results. Despite an impressive unbeaten start to the season, the Blues now sit sixth in the Premier League table with the Europa League their only chance of winning a trophy this season. Express Sport brings you a rundown of key quotes and events that have led to the former Napoli gaffer languishing on the brink of a Chelsea exit. No-go Kante. N'Golo given orders November 28, 2018, days after N'Golo Kante had signed a new contract and in the aftermath of the end of his first loss, which ended an 18-game unbeaten start to competitive football with Chelsea, Sarri singled out the France World Cup winning defensive midfielder for criticism. Sarri said Kante roamed too much in the 3-1 loss to Tottenham and should not deviate from his defined right-sided midfield role. He also reiterated his wish for Jorginho to play in central midfield. Eden Hazard was later also singled out and deployed as a false nine, in part to absolve him of defensive responsibility. This group of players are extremely difficult to motivate. January 19, 2019, Sarri had repeatedly questioned his players' motivation after the Spurs loss, with lacklustre performances following even in victory. The 60-year-old, though, was seething after a 2-0 loss at Arsenal, switching to his native Italian for his post-match media conference to send a message to my players, and I want my message to be very clear. He said, "I have to say, I'm extremely angry, very angry indeed. This defeat was due to our mentality, more than anything else. This group of players are extremely difficult to motivate." Post-mortem leaves questions. January 30, 2019, the players did not heed the message, and a heavy defeat which some had forecast all season materialized against surprise opposition. A 4-0 loss at Bournemouth was Chelsea's worst in the league in more than 22 years and resulted in a 50-minute dressing room inquest, with Sarri excluding his staff. "In that moment I wanted to talk with them, the players, alone, without anybody," Sarri said. "I wanted to try to understand after the match. I spoke with the players immediately after the match, but it is also difficult for them to say why. So I have to try again tomorrow, because I need to understand why, because I need to solve this problem." Stubborn refusal to change. February 1, 2019, "I am a dreamer, I want to play my football," said Sarri, in outlining why he refused to compromise on his footballing principles or even have a contingency plan. "Why? First of all, I want to do plan A very well, I think," he added. "I don't want to change something that at the moment doesn't work very well. First of all, I want to see my football played very well, then we can go to change something. First of all, I want to play my football very well. Then I can change." A 5-0 win over relegation threatened Huddersfield followed, but did not suggest all the issues had been resolved. City capitulation. February 10, 2019, if Chelsea supporters thought the Bournemouth beating was bad, the 6-0 loss at Manchester City was even worse. The Blues' heaviest loss in 28 years left Sarri's position in jeopardy. An embarrassment like that is not easily tolerated at Chelsea, with owner Roman Abramovich having sacked managers for less. Sarri said he didn't see my football at the Etihad Stadium. He added, "I am worried about my team, I am worried about the performance, but my job is always at risk, so I am not worried about the club." Fan frustration expressed in expletives February 18, 2019, with Chelsea's FA Cup defence coming to an end in a 2-0 loss to Manchester United at Stamford Bridge. Blues fans joined in as visiting supporters sang "You're getting sacked" in the morning. There was an expletive-laden critique of Sarri Ball, the 60-year-old Italian's philosophy, in an atmosphere almost unprecedented at Stamford Bridge. The nearest similarity was when Rafael Benitez was interim boss in 2012-13, but he was attacked personally due to his prior affiliation with Chelsea's rivals Liverpool. Mutinous Kepa February 24, 2019, when Kepa Arrizabalaga refused to be substituted off with penalties looming in the Carabao Cup final with City. Sarri's furious reaction suggested all was not well. The incident was played down immediately after the match as a misunderstanding, but it was strange that Sarri did not force the 24-year-old goalkeeper to abide by his decision. There was next to no support from senior Chelsea players, and, whether it was intended to or not, it did undermine Sarri's authority. Kepa was subsequently fined 1 week's wages by the Blues and admitted he made a big mistake. Sarri is yet to win a trophy as a manager, and with Chelsea fans rapidly turning on the 60-year-old, fans could be forgiven for expecting the cup defeat to be his final match as Blues boss. Abramovich has been far from patient when sacking managers in the past, and Sarri's continuation as manager could prove to be a change in the philosophy of the Russian owner. Although crucial defeats have blighted the season so far, Sarri still boasts 28 wins in his 44 games in charge, a percentage of 64. Former boss Conte was happy to be removed from his post at the culmination of the 2017-18 season, and with the club still paying off his contract, it could be wise to see if the disarray of their Wembley defeat could force the players and staff together